Friends, let's paint this forest together. This painting was inspired by our recent trip to Northern California. It's a special place with towering redwood trees, Douglas fir forests, misty mornings, and rushing rivers. Imagine this, you're driving through a downpour so heavy that you can barely see the road ahead. But then you turn a corner and there it is, a cozy little inn with warm lights glowing in the windows. It's the kind of place that makes you want to curl up by the fire and forget about everything for a while. The next morning we found ourselves among the Douglas fir trees. The rain had stopped and the mist was hanging over the forest like a veil, and the sun was peeking through the trees. The Eel River, usually a gentle babbler, was roaring with the power of all the rain it had received. There was a scene that caught my attention where the sun made its gentle presence through the morning mist. That moment was so beautiful, so peaceful, that it took my breath away, and I knew right there that I had to capture it on paper. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to paint a watercolor of this morning light in the forest. But it's not just about the painting, it's about the feeling of the moment when you step back from the turbulent world and realize that there is beauty all around us, even in the darkest of times. It's about the hope that comes with knowing that after the storm, there comes peace. So if you're an artist who came here to learn, or you've never picked up a brush before, I invite you to join me on this journey. Let's immerse ourselves for a little while in the beauty of nature. Grab your favorite beverage or your art supplies, find a cozy spot, and let's create. Let's talk about the colors we'll use for today's painting. Today's palette starts with yellow ochre, a warm, inviting color that sets the stage for our scene, reminiscent of a gentle morning sun. Burnt sienna will follow, perfect for the darks in our trees and adding texture to our rain-refreshed earth and sky. Ultramarine blue will bring life to our skies, deepening shadows and providing contrast to the lingering clouds. Sap green will take the lead, capturing the lush greenery, symbolizing nature's revival after the rain. And to finish, dioxazine purple, enriching our darks and giving depth to the entire painting. As I start by pre-weighting the paper with a mauve brush, I want to point out something about the paper's weight. Lighter papers like the 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper I'm using now will buckle more when soaked, but don't let that discourage you. A little buckling doesn't have to stop the painting process. With a bit of maneuvering, guiding the water and pigment flow, you can still achieve satisfying results. While some artists prefer to pre-stretch their paper to avoid buckling, I found that as my style has evolved to be freer, the need to pre-stretch has diminished. Embracing the unpredictable nature of water and pigment on paper can add a unique character to your work. It's about adapting and enjoying the process, letting the watercolors take on a life of their own. Using a watercolor pad is quite handy as it keeps the paper secure while you shift and tilt it, guiding the pigments across the wet surface. There is a trick to this, however. You've got to keep an eye on the edges. Excess water lingering there can creep back in and cause blooms in the areas where you want a smooth wash. So I always have a paper towel ready to dab away any puddles that form. This way you maintain control over the water. As I brushed on the yellow ochre, you noticed I was generous with it, setting a tone of warmth for the whole piece. This warmth is meant to mirror the sun's triumph as it breaks through the morning mist, promising a bright sunny day. When it came to the sky, I chose a mix of our darks, ultramarine blue, dioxazine purple, with just a hint of burnt sienna. Now, applying darks early on always gives me a moment of pause. Watercolor can be unforgiving, and going too dark too soon can mean having to start from scratch if things go wrong. But this time, I decided to trust in my skills. I took a deep breath and laid down those broad sweeping strokes with my mix, setting aside my concerns for the moment. If you are painting along with me, keep going with that mix we've started with. This time we introduced a bit of more burnt sienna into our blend. Lay your mix on the lower part of the paper with this earthy blend of colors. Lay the strokes broadly and let go of them, and see watercolors thrive on their own terms. To create the sun shining through, you can use an interesting technique here. Take a piece of tissue paper, bunch it up, and gently dab it onto the still wet surface of our initial wash. This technique is great for lifting paint and creating lighter areas, perfect for depicting the sun. While the surface is still wet, take a calligraphy brush, load it with a mix of sap green, ultramarine blue, and a touch of burnt sienna, and begin to sketch in the distant trees, bathed in the morning light. At this point, it's not about getting every tree shape perfect. Focus on capturing the essence, the feel of those distant trees. In the moment of spontaneity, I decided to add some yellow strokes across the sky and the forest. I didn't plan them out ahead of time, I just go along with my instincts sometimes. The strokes can represent the play of light, adding a dynamic element to the scene. I could feel the paper is starting to dry at this time. It's best to pause now and let the painting dry completely. This pause is a natural part of watercolor process, allowing the painting to settle before adding any further details. As you've probably seen, I dove into the painting without a preliminary sketch. Occasionally, I choose to work this way. It allows me to directly shape and define the scene with my watercolors, letting the painting evolve more organically. In this particular piece, I felt the need to add just a bit of structure after laying down the initial washes. So I picked up my pencil and lightly sketched in the outlines of some shrubs in the middle ground. This isn't about detail or precise drawing, it's more about marking out a rough guide for where these elements will go. Now that my paper is completely dry, I can continue with the next phase of our painting. This piece was created over 2 days, allowing each layer ample time to dry thoroughly. Before moving on to the next phase, I prepared a new mix of the greenery. This mix combined sap green and ultramarine blue with a dab of purple to achieve the darker values needed for the depth and contrast. This combination creates a rich, varied green that is perfect for depicting the lushness of the forest. At times, I also added a bit of burnt sienna. This wasn't just for variety in color, but to imply the presence of tree trunks and branches amidst the foliage. It's important to note that I'm not focusing on painting every detail of the trees. Instead, my approach is to suggest their forms and textures. To portray the sense of distance and depth in our forest scene, I used more diluted, lighter values. This creates a sense of atmospheric perspective, where objects further away appear lighter and less defined due to the scattering of light. By painting these trees in more subdued manner, it gives the illusion that they are farther back. As the trees move closer to us, I gradually increase their size, use darker, deeper color. This helps them stand out against the lighter, more distant trees. Using the same mix of colors, I shift my attention to the shrubs I outlined earlier with the pencil. Here I'm deepening the hues of the existing green mix. By adding more of the darker values to the same blend of colors, I'm able to give the shrubs more definition and volume. It's one way to differentiate these elements from the rest of the forest, making them stand out as distinct features in the landscape. As I progress with the painting, I continue guiding the bead of paint down towards the foreground. My focus shifts to laying out an abstract representation of the ground closer to us. This part of the painting is where we suggest the presence of grasses and the uneven, textured surface of a forest meadow. This part of the painting looks more impressionistic. I'm aiming at creating an impression of the meadow, using varying shades and strokes to hint at its natural features. After allowing the initial layer of our painting to dry completely, we are ready to focus on the elements in the foreground, particularly the Douglas tree closest to us. The tree I'm about to paint really captured my attention during my visit to Humboldt County. It wasn't the colors that stood out to me. It was its striking silhouette against the backdrop of the sun. This silhouette was a defining moment in my experience, and it's what inspired me to create this painting. The tree's outline against the light is a key feature, so the emphasis will be on getting the shape and the contrast, rather than detailing specific colors. This step is noteworthy as it adds a focal point to our piece, drawing the viewer's eyes to this area. I hope I could relay my feelings and inspiration of that moment to you, my dear friends. As we move past the second half of our painting, I want to share with you the deeper message it holds for me, a message of hope. This painting isn't just about capturing the beauty of nature. It's a reflection of my own journey through some of life's toughest challenges. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with a debilitating condition that not only ended my career in nursing, but also took away my ability to enjoy many physical activities, things I cherished doing with my family and friends. It was a time of profound change and uncertainty, a period that tested my resilience in ways I never imagined. In those darkest moments, I found solace and new purpose in watercolor painting. It became more than a hobby. It was my lifeline, a ray of light that kept me going. Watercolor painting gave me a space to express myself, to find peace and, most importantly, hope. Starting this YouTube channel was a leap of faith for me. It was my way of not just reconnecting with the world, but also embracing a new path. Here I could share my passion for watercolors and the joy of teaching, something I've always loved. The support and love I've received from all of you, my wonderful viewers, have been overwhelming. Your encouragement has been a crucial part of this journey. Thanks to your kindness and engagement, I am here today, enjoying every minute of this creative process and being part of a larger community who shares the same love for watercolors. As we continue with our painting, you saw me introduce an unusual tool into our watercolor process, a brush typically used in oil painting. I picked up this brush with an idea in mind. I felt it could add a unique texture and effect to our painting. With it, I started to create abstract shapes that helped shape the nearby bushes. The stiffer bristles of this oil painting brush allow for a different kind of stroke, one that's perfect for suggesting the rough, untamed nature of the foliage. But that's not all. I also used this brush to add scattered rays of light throughout the scene using our yellow ochre. The hard bristles are surprisingly exciting at creating these light effects, giving the impression of sunlight filtering through the tree branches, dancing across the nearby shrubs. And of course, you see me turn to my favorite tool, an all-purpose calligraphy brush, again and again. This brush holds a special place in my heart, not just for its versatility, but also for the element of surprise it brings to each stroke. The joy of using this calligraphy brush lies in its ability to create a wide range of effects. Its fine tip allows for delicate, precise lines, perfect for adding those intricate details that bring the painting to life. As our painting journey approaches its final stages, you see me introducing a tool that might come as a surprise to you. It is a small piece of magic eraser. This little eraser is excellent for lifting watercolor paint from the paper. Watch as I use the magic eraser to gently remove paint, creating the effect of sun rays scattering through the forest foliage. It softly pulls the pigment off the paper, revealing the lighter tones beneath and mimicking the way sunlight filters through the leaves and branches. And the final touch in our painting. I decided to paint another Douglas tree on the right side. This not only balances the visual weight of the painting, but also adds to the overall depth of the forest scene. Also, to enhance the mood and atmosphere, I went back to the sky. This time I used a deeper mix of ultramarine blue, purple, and burnt sienna, intensifying the upper portion of our sky. This added depth helps to move viewer's eye across the painting. With these final strokes, our painting journey comes to a close. I'd like to take this moment to thank you sincerely for joining me today. Your presence and participation make this journey all the more rewarding. If you are interested in exploring more watercolor lessons and stories, I invite you to browse the playlist I've created for you on this channel. They are there to inspire, teach, and guide you through your watercolor adventures. I look forward to seeing you in my future tutorials, dear friends. Until then, keep creating, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep enjoying the process of making art. Until next time, happy creating!